Well, good morning. My name is Brian Johnson. I'm the city manager here at Peachtree Corners, and I wanted to spend a couple minutes today updating you on some of the activities that we have had within the city related to the COVID-19 or coronavirus and the city's actions and guidelines and executive order, our way of trying to stem the perpetuation of this virus. So let me back up to last Friday real quick and let everybody that was unaware know that the city issued an executive order this last Friday afternoon, in which it laid out essentially the essential and non-essential activities that can be happening within the city. And this executive order basically said that we call it a stay-at-home order. Now, by stay-at-home, we don't mean inside your house or even that you have to only stay in your house or on your property. There are exceptions to the ability of people in the city to leave their property and do things. But the executive order essentially lays out and says, look, unless you are involved in an essential business or an essential activity, that you should stay at home. Now, the reason and the intent of this is, again, to stop the spread or mitigate the spread of this virus. So we have to understand that the intent here is what's driving all of these activities or interpretations of whether certain activities or businesses do fall into which category. As long as you understand that intent, you'll understand why the city is doing some of the things it's doing. Because remember, aside from, those who are at risk or others, anything we can do to keep interactions between people to a minimum, even within essential businesses and activities, will help. The cashiers at the grocery store. Grocery stores are essential businesses, but those cashiers have to interact with people, and the less that we allow, that to happen, or we encourage that to happen, the better. So the executive order said that you're supposed to minimize your leaving your property, your house, to the best that you can, with the exception of conducting essential business, and that's laid out in the executive order, which you can find on our website. And you can read that executive order. It lists what businesses are considered essential. It lists what activities are considered essential. And then over the weekend, we created a frequently asked question document. This document its purpose is to try to maybe simplify what was found in the executive order, especially as it relates to questions that we kind of see as coming up more frequent than others. And it is a living, breathing document, meaning that FAQ will get updated on a regular basis, potentially even daily for a while, as we get questions being asked of us on, well, what about this and what about that? So go to the website, pull up the executive order, look at the frequently asked questions. Between the two of those documents, you should have a pretty good idea of what's going on within the city, and understand that we're pretty consistent with most of Metro Atlanta right now, and in fact in a lot of places in the country. So we are not unique in that, but it is a unique situation that we're all in. So a couple of things that I want to address real quick before I close that came up over the weekend as far as consistent questions and confusion about a few things. So one would be the age. An age of 60 has come up over the weekend as it relates to previous communication through the city's website on encouraging people over 60 to not leave their house. There was some confusion as to if you are over 60, which is generally considered an at-risk group by the CDC and the Georgia Department of Public Health. There was some confusion as to whether there was a mandatory, kind of shelter in place or stay at home order for those who are in that age group. And that is not the case. There is not a mandatory stay at home for all activities for that age group. Anybody over 60 has the same standard of anybody under 60, which is you can leave your house if you're conducting essential activities or going to conduct business with an essential business. And so I wanted to clarify that point. The other one has come down to the exercise component of the stay-at-home order. One of the essential activities is exercise or outdoor activity like walking, running, cycling, physical training of some sort. And what has come up in our community specifically, because we have a much greater number of tennis facilities than maybe most cities do, is whether tennis is an activity that falls inside of the essential activity. Now, let me read to you a section of the order that we've got to remember, and that is all public and private gatherings of any number of people occurring outside a household or living unit are prohibited, except for the limited purposes later on in this section, which includes essential activity of exercise. So as the city sees it right now, tennis, because of the fact that a tennis ball can potentially be a vector or a vehicle to transfer germs, we are considering that an activity that we are not, endorsing or allowing for anything other than household units. Because, of course, in a household unit, there is that potential already because you can be as close to them as you want. So the way it currently stands is if somebody asks what's the city stance on tennis, our stance is unless it is a household unit playing tennis, it would be in violation of the executive order if there was tennis going on, regardless of whether it was singles or doubles. Now, within a household unit, the city ends there and is not, our executive order does not translate transfer all the way down into a private club's perspective on whether their facility should be used for family units. So it was a long way of saying we have a lot of private clubs in the city, ones that have tennis facilities, and if they decided they wanted to let family units use their courts, as long as they were maintaining the 6-foot distance, that is up to them. So our order only relates to whether or not a non-family unit can be conducting tennis, and our executive order says no. So hopefully that clears up a little bit of the tennis, which is family unit only, and then there may or may not be facilities within the city that allows a family unit only. I do know of some facilities, private ones, that have already closed to all use, just out of an abundance of caution. So a lot of moving parts here. We're figuring this out as we go, just like other cities are. We appreciate your patience and understanding. We are very open to questions that are coming in to the city. Do not have them slow down. The entire elected body here, mayor and city council, have a lot of communication with their constituents. There's a lot of communication with them via email, phone call, text message, whatever, on what can I do this or can this person do that. Don't stop. We're all here to help. So those are your elected officials, are great vehicles to get communication to me and my staff. Along with legal counsel, we're constantly looking at some of these requests or questions, looking at how it fits within the executive order and trying to come up with the best way to answer these questions in keeping with the intent of the order, which is to prevent the assembly of people and and by doing so to prevent the spread of the virus. Now, there are going to be examples where there could be gatherings, and depending on how we determine gathering, there are instances where somebody could say, oh, there's a gathering. For instance, we've had people walking in their neighborhood. They're walking their dog. It could be the entire family walking on the sidewalk. They come up to a private property and there's somebody out front doing something, and they stop and they communicate. They maintain 6 feet, but technically there's more than 2 people communicating. Is that a gathering? Probably. But is that gathering one that's done for a duration that create a problem? In our opinion, organic, short gatherings like that for the purposes of trading some pleasantries and how are things going, and hey, is this not an interesting time, and then you move on. Those are fine. We just gotta again remember the intent. The intent is to prevent gatherings that are done for a long period of time in close proximity, and we want to keep those from happening, or keep organized ones from happening. So as you've been watching this, some of you have posed some questions, and one of them is what healthcare providers are essential. Are there ones that are routine, or does the healthcare providers include routine or only essential? So as we see right now, we are considering all healthcare as essential. Yes, hospitals, ERs, urgent cares maybe are a little bit different, but we as a municipality are not differentiating between the two for a couple reasons. One, even though coronavirus may be at the forefront of their mind, that does not mean that we don't have other ailments, other maladies, other sicknesses that are affecting us, that we still need regular medical care. The flu, the normal seasonal flu, we are still in that season. There are still more cases of that than coronavirus by far. There are also a lot of pre-existing conditions and or pharmaceutical needs, medicine people have to take. So we as a municipality have not tried to differentiate. There may be some medical providers that have decided that they are only going to see emergent cases. There are some like dermatology that don't have a lot of emergent cases, that they felt like they can shut down and do things telephonically. That's their call, but we did not differentiate between the two. So each medical practice is come up with their own safety precautions as how they're dealing with patients, but we as a municipality think that the entire medical community is too important, and we're not experts in that field for us to decide which ones are essential or not within that particular community. So those are kind of some of the questions that are coming in. Again, don't hesitate to continue to send them in. We have everything from your elected officials. info@peachtreecornersga.gov goes to my director of communication. My email is on the website. You can email me directly. And again, what we're doing on trying to, define or interpret some of our executive order is oftentimes on a case-by-case basis. And, we just had one recently. It was the accounting department of a construction company. And the accounting department had its own location here within the city. That was a standalone location just for accounting. And they asked if they were essential. And yes, for that construction company to be able to make payroll, for them to do their accounts payable, accounts receivable, they did in fact, or they are in fact deemed to be essential, even though the construction activities of the company were happening out of a different office. So a lot of case-by-case basis things that we'll look at and deal with. But, again, once essential businesses are still needing to keep their employees at 6 feet distance and to take all the precautions that you normally would when it comes to hand washing, hygiene, and doing what they can remotely. Even here at City Hall, we do have instances in which we still have to interact with the public. We still have code enforcement out there enforcing our code. We still have building inspectors inspecting construction, and so we're not stopping. We have another question out there. We have offices with small teams. Should they work remotely? Can they allow rotating shifts to have some engineers to test sporadically and critical clients in 1 to 3 weeks. So again, when it comes to the different types of businesses, yes, we are encouraging businesses to do what they can to, again, minimize human interaction. If that means that they can go to rotating shifts, that's great. If that means that they can go to every other cubicle, every third cubicle, great. That means they could take some of the staff that can do things remotely and have them do it remotely to increase the space within a business, also great. We're doing that here at City Hall. I have some of my employees can't be doing everything from home. I mean, inspectors have to still go to the job site. We still have some people that have to cut checks here. We still have our street, and stormwater and drainage maintenance crews still have to go out and inspect and repair. But I do have staff that can do a lot of their stuff from home, and so it frees up space here at City Hall so that there's not as much interaction. So those are the kind of things that all of us can do. Again, the least amount of interactions with each other, the better, and we'll get past this critical time, and we'll get back to business as usual, and you can stop having to see me as often as you are, at least to talk about coronavirus. So thank you for your time. Look forward to providing updates as they happen. Thanks for everything you're doing to keep our community safe and to be that great place to live, work, learn, and play that it has been and it will continue to be. So again, stay safe and God bless.